In 1963, a man in central Turkey knocked down a wall in his basement to reach his chickens. Behind it was a tunnel. And behind that, a city, carved 18 floors into the earth, big enough for 20,000 people. It had been sealed and forgotten. And no one alive knew it was there. The town is called Derinkuyu. It sits on the high, dry plateau of Cappadocia, in the heart of Anatolia, modern Turkey. From the surface, it looks like nothing. Low stone houses. Dusty streets. A landscape of pale rock and wind. But in 1963, one of those houses gave up a secret. The homeowner was doing renovations. Every time he finished a room, small animals seemed to vanish into the walls. So he took a hammer to the plaster, and instead of solid rock behind it, he found open air. A dark gap. A passage leading down into the ground. He climbed in. The passage kept going. It opened into a room. The room connected to another. And another. Stairs cut into the rock spiraled downward into total darkness. What he had broken into was not a cellar. It was not a cave. It was a city, an entire city, hidden beneath his feet, and beneath the feet of everyone in the town above. Archaeologists came. And as they mapped it, level by level, the scale of what he had found kept getting larger. Then larger still. By the time they reached the bottom, they had descended roughly 85 meters into the earth. That is the height of a 20-story building, pointed straight down. Picture it. Not a single cavern, but 18 distinct levels, stacked one beneath the other, connected by narrow staircases and vertical shafts. And these weren't empty rooms. Every level had a purpose. Near the top were the stables, where the townspeople kept their animals, so the beasts wouldn't have to be hauled deep below. Go down further, and you find kitchens, blackened by the smoke of ancient cooking fires. Storage rooms lined with great jars for grain, wine, and oil. Deeper still, chapels with vaulted ceilings, carved directly from the rock. A room that appears to have been a school, complete with a study hall. Wine and oil presses, cut from the living stone. Wells that reached down to fresh water. Even, some believe, a space that served as a communal meeting hall. All of it hollowed out of a single, remarkable material, volcanic tuff. When the ancient volcanoes of Cappadocia erupted, they blanketed the region in soft ash that hardened into stone soft enough to carve with hand tools, yet strong enough that, once exposed to air, it hardens further and holds its shape for millennia. The people of Cappadocia had looked at their soft, strange landscape, and instead of building up, they had dug down. They had built an entire world underground. But a city can't survive on carved rooms alone. 20,000 people, packed below the surface, need two things above all else. They need to breathe. And they need water. And how the builders solved those two problems is where this story becomes genuinely astonishing. Think about the problem. You want to hide thousands of people, plus their animals, dozens of meters underground, sometimes for weeks at a time. The moment you seal the entrances, the air begins to go stale. Cooking fires burn oxygen. Bodies exhale carbon dioxide. Without a solution, everyone inside would suffocate. The builders of Derinkuyu solved it with ventilation shafts. They cut vertical channels that ran from the surface all the way down through the levels, more than 50 of them by some counts. These shafts pulled fresh air down into the deepest chambers and let stale air rise back out. A natural chimney effect kept the entire city breathing, even with its doors sealed against the world above. And here is the detail that stops archaeologists in their tracks. Some of those shafts didn't just carry air. They doubled as wells, reaching down to the water table far below. That meant the people inside could draw fresh water without ever going to the surface. And it meant something else, too. An enemy standing above the city, trying to lay siege to it, couldn't easily poison the water, because many of the wells didn't connect to the surface at all. The water was protected, sealed inside the earth with the people who depended on it. Everything about this place was designed with one obsession in mind. Not comfort. Not display. Survival. The city was built to be hidden, and to be defended. Which raises the question, defended against whom? And the answer is carved into the tunnels themselves, in the form of a door unlike any other. Move through the passages of Derinkuyu and, again, you come to the same thing. A great circular stone, like a millstone, sometimes 1.5 meters across, weighing hundreds of kilograms, set into a groove carved beside the tunnel. These were the doors. When danger came, the people inside would roll the stone across the passage, sealing the level completely. And here is the crucial detail: the doors could only be operated from the inside. An attacker in the tunnel couldn't move it. The stone was too heavy to push from the outside, and there was often a small hole in its center, through which the defenders could see out, and, if they had to, strike out. Level by level, the townspeople could seal themselves deeper and deeper into the earth, closing door after door behind them, until they were locked away in a fortress that no army could enter. So picture the full scenario. A raiding army appears on the plateau. The alarm goes out. And the town on the surface simply disappears. The people gather their animals, their grain, their children, and descend. The stone doors roll shut, one after another. From above, there is nothing left to conquer. Just empty houses, and silence. The raiders could burn the surface. They could wait. But below their feet, 20,000 people were breathing, drinking, praying, and waiting them out, for as long as it took. This was not built for a single bad night. This was built for a way of life defined by fear. Which forces the real question of this story: who were these people, and what were they so afraid of? For long stretches of its history, Cappadocia sat on a fault line, not of rock, but of empires. Armies crossed this plateau again and again. It was borderland, contested ground, a place where the powerful marched through and the ordinary paid the price. The clearest chapter comes from the Byzantine era. Between roughly the 7th and 10th centuries, this region lay along the violent frontier between the Christian Byzantine Empire and the expanding Arab caliphates. Raids swept across Anatolia. Villages were burned. People were taken. For the people of Cappadocia, the underground city was the answer. When the horizon filled with riders, they didn't run. They went down. They took shelter in the dark, sealed the doors, and let the storm pass over the surface. The chapels carved into the deep levels tell us they didn't just hide there, they lived there. They worshipped there. Whole communities went to ground and endured. And they kept using these refuges for centuries. Even much later, as new rulers and new raiders came and went, the underground cities remained a place to vanish when the surface turned dangerous. But here's the thing. The Byzantines expanded Derinkuyu. They enlarged it, deepened it, added to it. Which means, when they arrived, something was already there. Someone had started digging long before them. And that is where the trail goes cold, and the real mystery begins. Here is the honest truth about Derinkuyu. We do not know for certain who first cut into this rock, or when. The most common attribution points to the Phrygians, an Anatolian people who flourished in this region around the 8th to 7th centuries BC. They had the skill to work stone on a large scale, and the timing fits the earliest layers. So many scholars credit them with beginning the city. But some researchers push the origins back even further, suggesting the very first chambers might date to the Hittite era, centuries earlier still, before the Phrygians ever arrived. The problem is this: soft rock doesn't hold a date. There are no cornerstones, no inscriptions announcing, built in this year, by this king. Every generation that used the city carved into it, reshaped it, expanded it, erasing the fingerprints of the ones before. The city consumed its own history. So the single most staggering fact about Derinkuyu isn't its depth, or its size. It's that a structure this vast, a hidden city for 20,000 people, was built by hands we still cannot name, for reasons we can only partly reconstruct. It was designed to disappear. And in a way, its builders disappeared with it. And Derinkuyu is not alone. Beneath Cappadocia lie dozens of underground cities and shelters, a hidden geography carved into the plateau over thousands of years. Derinkuyu is simply the deepest one we know. And some of them are connected. A tunnel, several kilometers long, is believed to link Derinkuyu to another great underground city nearby, Cappadocia. Think about what that means. Not just one hidden city, but a network, an underworld the people of this land could move through, unseen, while armies passed harmlessly overhead. For centuries, all of it lay silent and forgotten, sealed behind walls and rockfalls. Until, one day in 1963, a man swung a hammer at his basement, and let the light back in. Derinkuyu was built to vanish. And for a very long time, it did. If this changed how you see the ground beneath your feet, subscribe. We bring a lost world back to the surface every week.